Now, with calls from the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights for a full investigation into the way Colonel Gaddafi was killed, how easy is it going to be for Libya to move towards peaceful democracy? For their thoughts on the way forward, with me in the studio is Elam Saudi, head of the group Lawyers for Justice in Libya, based in London, and the editor-in-chief of Al-Quds Al-Arabi newspaper, Abdul Bari Atwan. And to help us consider the historical legacy of Colonel Gaddafi, I'm joined from Canterbury by the historian Anthony Beevor. Very good to see you all. Barry, first of all, Gaddafi's death, there won't be a trial. Is that unfortunate or is that a good thing? Because it means Libya can move on.
It is unfortunate because, you know, we believe in the rule of law. He was killed. It was a street justice. It wasn't actually a proper justice. We expected the new regime, the new era of Libya to be actually different from Gaddafi era. He is a brutal dictator, no question about that. He killed people, but he shouldn't be killed the way his opponent used to be killed. So I think, you know, we need investigation. It is actually appalling. And also, he was captured alive, and his son also was captured alive. And to be killed the way we have seen, it is really, really shocking to many people.
Elam, is that a problem? I mean, some people have said a trial could be difficult in itself. On the other hand, it could be a nation coming together at something, couldn't it?
Yeah, I think as lawyers and as a Libyan, we very much would have liked a trial. I think we are where we are. He's dead, and the best way for us to do this is to move forward, look into his death, investigate that, but not be fixated in our future with the same man that we've been fixated with in our past. We need to move forward. We need to be guided by us as a population and not by this one man going forward. We need to find an investigation. I agree with that. But I think we cannot let him control our future in that way as well.
You know very well there are Libyans all over the world who have left the country, who are doing very well all over the world and prospering. I mean, how optimistic is it realistic to be about the future of Libya and rebuilding?
Very. I think that's the short answer. You probably want a slightly longer answer, but I think I'm personally very optimistic. The one thing that Gaddafi achieved in his reign was to separate us as a population. And the thing he achieved in this battle is to unite us in a phenomenally quick way. I went from having 2 or 3 phone numbers in my phone to having over 100 Libyan phone numbers, which is a great moment. There's a phenomenally talented diaspora that you allude to, but there's also a phenomenally talented population on the ground. And it's, you know, it's us working together and actually coming together that's going to move this forward.
Let me bring in Anthony Beevor, who joins us from Canterbury. I mean, the historical significance of Gaddafi after 42 years, is he in a way the last of a kind, or one of the last of a kind, these great nationalist, secular, supposedly leaders, the Arab strongmen? Is he the last one?
Well, obviously there are still 1 or 2 around, like Assad in Syria, and we may well see 1 or 2 more. But I think that there's been a clear message sent out that perhaps their day is over, as far as certainly the Arab world is concerned. And I think that the manner of his death, which is frankly not far short of what happened to Mussolini, of a complete humiliation, all right, a fairly squalid end. But it does have one advantage. Obviously, it would have been good to have had a trial and all the rest of it, but I think that's a bit idealistic. We saw with Saddam Hussein the disadvantages of a long, drawn-out process and trial. I think it's actually a great advantage for Libya that it's been short, albeit brutal, and I think now they can really get on.
Barry, one of the ways that some outsiders have looked at the Arab world is it's a choice between the secular strongman, a person like Gaddafi, or religious fundamentalism. I just wondered what your thoughts are about, because I know many Arab people say that's a completely false choice.
Well, actually, no. There could be a mixture. And also, if you have Islamic State, why not? We have a good example in Turkey. We have Islamic Party ruling it. It is now the 6th biggest economy in Europe, the number 17, you know, in the world.
It's a democracy.
So, yeah, you can have both. You can have a secular and in the same time Islamist government. And so we cannot say that, you know, we need dictators, secular dictators. No. Now, people in Tunisia, they are going to election after tomorrow, and they are Islamists, they are secular, they are liberals, they are right-wing, left-wing. So I think we have to let the people choose. And you know, the most important thing, to have a real democracy, to have the rule of law, which we are deprived from, for an independent judicial system. So that's what we need in that part of the world. Whether it is the Islamists in power or the secular or the liberals, we need a proper democracy.
Elam, but we have also seen some of the bumps on the road. I mean, we've seen what's happened in Egypt, we've seen what the Coptic Christians feeling that they are oppressed, and so on and so on. I mean, it's not going to be easy, is it?
It's not going to be easy, but there's the will. I mean, a lot of people have died in this process. And I don't talk about this battle, I talk about the last 42 years. What we do not want in Libya, and I speak for myself and people I know, is another homogenous society. We want to reflect that we're a pluralist society, that we do have varying opinions politically, religiously, everything, and not be led into this confined space where we have to all look the same and be the same and behave the same way. I'm actually quite excited about having a political system where we do have the Islamists with a voice. For me, the worst thing we have is this forced exit of anyone who's on the left or the right or anywhere else other than the middle. So it's a good thing to move towards a place where everyone has a voice.
And Anthony Beevor, in terms of the lessons of history that we might learn in this country after the post-imperial past and when it comes to getting involved in other people's affairs, when you look at this, Iraq, Afghanistan and other matters, I mean, do you think it may be a turning point for the end of liberal interventionism is one phrase that comes to mind?
Well, I think one's got to be very, very careful about this whole idea of liberal interventionism. Just because it worked in Libya doesn't mean, of course, that it's going to work elsewhere. I mean, some people might get carried away thinking, right, how about Assad and how about Syria? The important element in Libya was not only did it have the support of the vast majority of the Libyan people, but also the support of the Arab League and the United Nations. And it's got to be done within that context. We've got to be really careful about this whole idea of armed humanitarianism, because apart from anything else, the United Nations is a fundamental contradiction in the sense that there is respect, obviously, for the sovereignty of individual countries, but at the same time, there is also a feeling that there should always be grounds for intervention in the case of human rights abuses and all the rest of it. And that is a major contradiction.
I just noticed, just as Anthony Beevor was speaking there, the White House officials are saying the President will announce that we fulfill our commitment and complete the drawdown of US troops from Iraq by the end of the year, which is perhaps a nice moment. But when you look, Elam, at the way in which the outside powers have been involved here, I mean, do you think Libyan people are broadly grateful for this?
Well, I'm not sure gratitude is the right word. I think we see ourselves as in partnership with the West, so I think gratitude implies some kind of owing a respect to your elders or to your superiors. I think we acknowledge that with Gaddafi's obsession with power and his obsession with weaponry, we couldn't do it on our own. So we are thankful and we appreciate that, but I think it's been a Libyan project. It is a cooperation with the international community, but I think it's wrong for the Libyans and for the West to attribute it all to humanitarian intervention or the like, because actually it was a very strong commitment by the Libyan people on the ground to oust him, and they're the ones that have shed the blood.
And Barry, the implication of that, everything we've been hearing here for Syria, is that the West will not intervene. No, yeah. There is no appetite for it.
Yeah, definitely, because, you know, Syria hasn't got oil. It has pistachio nuts, and I don't believe that, you know, that NATO will find oil to actually meet the expenses. So that's why, as simple as that, that West intervene only in Iraq and Libya. Why? Because there is oil.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Thank you all very much. And just to repeat a little bit more detail on that news I broke just a few moments ago,